Welcome, everyone. This is Christopher Kai, and I'm super excited to share with you this webinar on how you can become a global speaker and an online coach. My program is called the Gifted Professional Speaker Program, or GPS for short. If you can see this picture, just visualize your future if you want to be a global speaker. And even if you don't want to be a speaker yet, being an online coach also allows you to inspire and impact and just inform people on how they can live a better life. Before we begin, just go ahead and make sure you check your audio and visual. How's everyone doing today? Cool. Where is everyone from? We got Dave from New York. What's up, Dave? Michael from Florida. Katya from Sweden. Carrie from China. What's up, Carrie? James from Hawaii. Awesome. It's always super exciting to be able to share knowledge with all of you around the world. Already our program, we're already in 55 cities, 11 countries, and 4 continents. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So you might have seen me on Talks at Google. If you have not, you can just go on YouTube and check that out. Google, one of the biggest and most powerful companies in the world, they have their own TED Talks internally, and it's quite an honor to be there. Past speakers have been Ellen DeGeneres or Will Smith, former President Barack Obama was there. So it's a great honor to speak at Google headquarters up in the Bay Area. I also wrote a Amazon #1 bestselling book in the small business category. It's called Big Game Hunting, Networking with Billionaires, Executives, and Celebrities. How I learned 20 strategies based on 20 years of experience where I help you understand how to get those clients, or how do you just communicate better, whether you do want to communicate with billionaires or executives or just in general. It's about that human connection. And lastly, Inc. magazine has referred to me as the billionaire networker. So when you network, it's phenomenal that you get to meet people that you would never imagine you could. So whether in my case, meeting Richard Branson or Elon Musk, John Paul II, or former President Clinton, it's those things that you want to inspire. You really want to create this aspirational brand. So this whole webinar really is to teach you how to become an aspirational brand so that as a speaker or coach, people need to be like you, want to be like you. Otherwise, why would they hire you? So what you're going to learn in this webinar, I'm very specific. My first paid speech, I got paid $50. Now this is 16 years ago, mind you, but I got paid $50, and now I charge $20,000 for a 1-hour speech. I'll also share with you how one client, he got back his return on investment in just 2 days. Other clients, one client made $12,000 recently without a speaking reel. Other clients have made tens of thousands of dollars in just the first month with no marketing, because in the world of social media, and you can use things like Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, or YouTube, even if you're not tech savvy, trust me, I'm not. But when you realize that you can just push a button, if you can push your iPhone on or off, if you can push your laptop on or off, then you can definitely push a go live button on Facebook Live. It's just a streaming service, a live streaming service that Facebook started about 2 years ago. All I'm saying is that it's never been more possible to monetize, to make a living online wherever you are in the world, as long as you have Wi-Fi, a computer, and or possibly a laptop or desktop. I'll also share with you how you can create an online coaching program from scratch with no internet or tech experience. Because again, using social media. Last 2 things are, one of my clients made $10 million in 4 years. And again, finally, how do you travel the world for free? How do you inspire people? Because if you're at a job that you don't like, if you're in a city or country you don't like, we're not supposed to just be enduring life. It's about enjoying life. So just make sure you know that you create a vision of yourself that you want to be like. One of my clients last week, when I said to her, Meredith, my life is your vision board. And she just really liked that, because I've lived a great life, but I didn't always start this way. And I'll share a little bit about my story later on. But just know that these things are possible in the world we live in now, because the online training space is $107 billion. I'll say that again. The online training space is a $107 billion industry. So if you're not doing business online, you're missing out on millions of opportunities. So our agenda is going to be very, very, very simple and very clear. We have the appetizers, which is my story and some testimonials of different clients. The main course, which is the content, which I want to share with you. The 9 revenue streams, why we are now living in an unprecedented time of opportunity as entrepreneurs, specifically online entrepreneurs. And lastly, the business side of speaking. So many people ask me, Chris, so what's the difference between your program and other people's program? The main difference is you can just join Toastmasters, a nonprofit that's free around the world, for probably under $100 to be a better speaker. But if you want to get paid as a speaker, you really have to understand from someone that has been doing this, I've been doing this for over 15 years, how to get paid, which is the business and branding side. It's a massive difference. There's very little correlation between speaking well and getting paid to speak well. And the last part of this webinar will be the dessert. And that's my GPS program, which stands for, again, the Gifted Professional Speaker Program. I walk you through step-by-step how I did this whole process of becoming a global speaker and an online coach. So let's start with my story. All of these images are actually places I've spoken at. And just again, imagine you in these places, whether you're going to Hong Kong or the Caribbean, and just those are your vision boards. Just imagine that. So let's say for me, my first international speech was in Hong Kong. Some of you may know that Hong Kong is it's more of like the New York City of Asia, in that it's a capital. It's just this amazing cosmopolitan city. You see the skyline. That's Victoria Harbor right there. And my parents are from there, so I used to spend a lot of time there. And now, mind you, I grew up in New York City and very modest upbringing. My mother was a school teacher. My father was a case manager, so I had no money, no access, no connections. But thankfully, I had different mentors along the way. But I'm showing this picture because this is my first international speech. I didn't get paid for the speech, but I got to speak at a Rotary Club. So my first specific advice for you is, if you want to be a global speaker, as soon as you step on someone's country, on that specific country, you give a speech in Hong Kong, or in Canada, wherever you are outside your country, you can already consider saying you're a global speaker. This is Jamaica, where I was recently for a thought leadership conference where the Prime Minister of Jamaica was there, as well as the wealthiest Caribbean business person was there. I gave a speech on networking, and I got featured on Forbes. Thank you for that Forbes article. I was also in Puerto Rico for a luxury real estate conference, and you'll find that a lot of the places you're going to speak at, they're often vacation places, because why not have a conference at a vacation place? And so this is the actual hotel where they put me up in at a luxury retreat that I spoke at for as a keynote. And when you do become a speaker, oftentimes they do fly you there, business class or first class. And once you start flying business class and first class, you do not want to go back to economy. I live in Beverly Hills, but I also have spoken in Beverly Hills. I have various clients here, a lot of realtor clients. I actually had the distinct honor of speaking at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel, which they often call the Pretty Woman Hotel, because that's where they shot Pretty Woman. That's on the corner of Wilshire Boulevard and Rodeo Drive in the heart of Beverly Hills. And I spoke at it was called the Wall Street Conference, where there's a lot of startups and tech conferences that were there. And so I had a privilege of speaking there as a keynote. I've also spoken in Toronto. This is for the Association for Investment Management Sales Executives. And the beauty of speaking specifically with my topic of building business relationships is that it's relatable to a lot of industries, whether it's real estate, whether it's wealth management. In this case, it's asset management. So when you pick a topic, make sure you have a specific reach relative to your topic. So if my topic is about business relationships, the specific reach is quite broad, so that I can speak in various industries. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about what speech topic you want to share with the audience in the world. I was in Australia earlier this year as well. Jerusalem, this was for a US concert event. Again, just imagine yourself in these places, pick the various places you want to go to, and those are the places you target to speak there. Look for the conferences out there. New York City, where I was born and raised, I spoke there earlier this year. Now, I've showed you these pictures of where I've gone to speak, but I'm going to now share with you where I started to speak, and this is in Stamford, Connecticut. I spoke at an all-Black Pentecostal church in Stamford, Connecticut. This is 16 years ago, and my coworker at the time, Desmond, at American Express, was also a pastor at a church, and he said, "Hey, Chris, you wrote a book about college success. That's my first book I wrote 16 years ago." And he said, "I'd love for you to come and talk to our students, our parishioners." I'm like, "Great, sure, I'll do that, Desmond." So I go there not expecting anything. I did a great job. The audience really loved it. And after my speech, with this big smile on my face, he walks up to me and says, "Christopher, great job." I'm like, "Oh, thank you." He hands me an envelope. I'm like, "What's this?" I open up the envelope, and I see that it's a check. And I looked down at the check. I looked at it, and it said it was $50. And I'm like, oh my gosh. For the first time in my life, I got paid to speak. And so I share this with you because though I get paid a lot more now, I charge $20,000. I have speaking bureaus reaching out to me to have them represent me. But it's that one moment in that instance that I knew that I can get paid to speak. And so wherever you are in life, Whether you're a seasoned executive or you're just out of college, know that it's possible, because if I can get paid $50 a speech, I know you can get paid at least $50 or at least $500 or $5,000. My point is, you have to have the mindset that you're going to get paid, because otherwise the alternative is this. You go to a conference, and it's kind of appalling, frankly. Sometimes these conference owners, they actually will pay more on the bagels, on the forks and knives, on the tablecloths than you as a speaker. So if they're going to ask you to speak, if they value you as a speaker, then you should definitely charge. At the very minimum, you get your travel expenses covered. But the point is, look at this image of where I started. Know that you can do it, because if I can do it, get paid $50, you absolutely can do it. And I also had a lot of issues growing up. And so sometimes you might say, well, Chris, I'm not like you. I don't have the confidence. Well, trust me. On the left-hand side, I used to get in trouble all the time because I talked too much. In the middle, I just had a really hard time studying. So I had a reading disability. But the hardest thing growing up, I was really short. Now that picture on the right-hand side, I was 4'10". So for the first 8 years of my entire life, the entire time I was at St. Mary's Elementary School, I was the shortest kid in class. And it was always line up the shortest kid in the front of the line, and it was horrible. When I entered 9th grade, I went to an all-boys school, and I was 4'10". The shortest kid next to me was 5'4". It was just horrible. I remember I was at a party one time, and I saw this really cute girl, and I wanted to ask her to dance. I was really shy and nervous, but I mustered the courage up to ask her to dance. And she was wearing a black feather, a white top, and a black blouse. And I walked up to her, asked her to dance. She said yes. I had a big smile on my face. I'm starting to dance. And all of a sudden, an upperclassman walks up to me out of the blue. He lifts me up. I'm like dangling from the floor, like screaming, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And he just says, "What are you trying to pick up, a second grader?" And puts him back down in front of this girl that I had the courage to ask to dance. And she was just so embarrassed for me. I was embarrassed. It was one of the most humiliating moments of my life, but I got over it. You know, I share these stories because know that life goes on, and stories are 22 times more memorable than facts. And when you want to be a speaker, you want to get paid for it, know that you have to have stories to share. Otherwise, why would someone relate to you? Now, that being said, don't ever allow the scars of your past to determine the successes of your future. I'll say that again. Don't allow the scars of your past to determine the successes of your future. I've met so many people at my speeches where I had this one gentleman named Klaus from Germany. He's 6'2" tall, a scrawny guy, walks up to me, points to his ears and says, "Chris, you know, thanks so much for sharing your story about being teased for being short. People would always tease me because I have really big ears." You know, or another guy named Roman, who's a client of mine in Miami, Florida, and he walks up to me again with his head bowed. He's like, "You know, Chris, I really feel your pain. I was 4'11" when I was your age too." And he always likes to egg me on and says, "You know, I was short, but I was still 1 inch taller than you." Then lastly, this one woman in her 40s, and she was a mother, and unfortunately she walked up to me near tears after one of my speeches and said, "You know, Christopher, thanks for sharing that story. My mother used to actually really insult me and say how ugly I was, and how when I grew up I would never have anyone to marry me, and how she looked at my nose, pointed at it, and said, 'Looks like a pig.'" And so she was near tears. And again, I share these things because I can easily stand on a pedestal and say, "Yeah, I've given over 1,000 presentations. Yes, I've worked at American Express. Yes, I've spoken at American Express and Google and New York Life and all these different things that I've done, which I'm very proud of." But the things that my audience and what your audience will most remember are your stories. So just keep that in mind, that when you become a speaker, or if you already are a speaker, you want to be a more powerful one, you have to share the stories and the solutions. And I'll get a little bit more into the business side of things. But for now, just know that don't allow the scars in your past to determine the successes of your future. So let me share with you a few client testimonials. Here's Jesse from Canada.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jesse Loader, and I'm a real estate agent here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and now officially a real estate coach thanks to Christopher Kai's GPS program. I recently invested in Christopher's program, and his advice is not theory. His advice is very direct and very purposeful, and he helped me create a coaching flyer. It took only about half an hour to do that. I posted that flyer on Facebook and on Instagram, and within 2 days, I already secured my first coaching client, which was enough to recoup my initial investment in the program and turn a little bit of a profit. So if you're somebody who wants to do some online training, online coaching, or is looking to get into professional speaking, I highly recommend the Gifted Professional Speakers program with Christopher Kai. It will change your life, because it sure has changed mine.
Thank you, Jesse. And again, he took action. He said, yeah, it only took 30 minutes because I gave him the very specific copy, where to go get the specific place to actually create the flyer. But it's all about taking action. And that's what a lot of people don't accept, that you have to do the work, right? In Jesse's case, an update, he's had over now 10 clients with zero marketing dollars. He invested in my program. But when people ask me how quick can you get results? Well, in Jesse's case, he's gotten results in 2 days. Some of my clients actually secure clients within a day, but it's about taking action. So many of the people that don't take action, they hesitate too much, they think too much, they don't do very well. So I taught Jesse how to build out his own coaching program. Here's another example of a speaker that we have.
Hi, I'm Adam Torres, founder and CEO of Century City Wealth Management. Through Chris and his speaking programs, I've been able to secure over $10,000 in speaking fees. I've traveled to over 4 cities and 2 countries. Chris is awesome.
So again, I have to always update myself because Adam, I think he's well over $30,000, and he's just constantly going to different places. And so it's just very, very inspiring to see all of our clients doing really well with their program. Here is another client.
My name is Chrisanne Brunsman, and I attended this awesome GPS session tonight with Christopher Kai, and I just had to do a testimonial because I don't think I've been this impressed in a really long time. He is so spot on. He knows exactly what he's talking about. He helped every single speaker tonight go from this level to this level, all in like a 2-hour time period. So I couldn't be more impressed, and I hope I can call him a friend after tonight, because I just want to surround myself with people like him. He's truly, truly all you. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Chrisanne. I want to be clear that this is an online program, and I was experimenting, and I decided to just invite some of our gifters in the Los Angeles area to a place where we spoke at the Farmers Insurance, which is a Fortune 500 company. So Vish talks about at this workshop, our program is an online program. And lastly, I share another client of ours.
So Chris got helped me significantly get started in business 2 years ago, helped me kind of learn how to network, really introduced me to some initial people. They became my first clients for my marketing consultancy, which I was just me 2 years ago. Took a lot of what he taught me, really used that network. They helped me get started, and then use the methodology and everything to really grow it to the point that now we're 25 people, on track to do $2.5 million in the second year of business, all through really just a platform of a meeting that started with Chris.
Again, I've known Eric for years now, and now he's at $10 million in 4 years. And again, it's about how do you start? How do you meet the people you want to meet? And though I talk about speaking, it's all about networking, because if you can't network well, if you can't communicate well, then how are you going to find the people going to pay you to be a speaker? Or how are you going to find the people to pay you to be a client? So networking is synonymous with sales, and sales is the way that you get your clients to be a speaker or an online coach. You can want to do things, but if you don't understand the methodology, the strategy, the systems to get what you want to do, then you're only going to always dream about being a speaker, an online consultant, and you can't do it unless you have the strategy. And Eric's case took my advice, and he's just a rock star. So if you do want to see any more testimonials, you can go on to YouTube. I have 30 GPS testimonials or coaching testimonials. And so it's all about getting those results that you want, and just look at what they're saying and just decide for yourself. I'm really proud of our results. So let's jump into the main course. Just as a recap, again, this is all about how you can become a global speaker and an online consultant, how you can have that life you deserve, how you can go to all these places wherever you want to travel to. It's never been more possible to become a global speaker. It's never been more possible, especially to be an online coach, because of the fact that we live in a world where, I said before, the online training space is $107 billion. And there's times where it shocks me, frankly. A year or two ago, I remember sitting in my home my home office in Beverly Hills and staring at my computer screen, and I was doing a webinar, and there are 500 people on one webinar from 30 countries. Now, how can we have that possible? Well, we can have that possible now, because when people watch the webinar, they're like, oh my gosh, Chris, I love your program. I'm going to buy it. They go on my website, christopherkai.com, they buy it. So again, this is how the world works now. You're listening to this webinar, you're taking your time, you're investing your time. And so you can do the same thing. So whatever you see me doing, you can do yourself, because remember, I didn't start with money, access, or any connections. I grew up middle class. My mother was a school teacher. My father was a case manager. As I mentioned to you, I had a lot of insecurities growing up. I was really short. I got teased for talking too much, and I had a reading disability. So all these things I had going against me. But if you stay the course, if you find mentors. I had an uncle named Uncle Ding who hired me at his insurance company at age 12. So by the time I was 12, I was already working in a corporate setting. And by the time I was 14, I bought my first stock. And by the time I was in my mid-20s, I already started my first company, wrote my first book, worked at American Express, and bought and sold my first luxury apartment in New York City on the 18th floor. So these things are all possible. It doesn't matter where you came from. It's about where you want to go. And so just as a reminder. So we're going to get into the main course now in terms of the content. I'm going to give you a very quick history lesson. This is why we're so in an unprecedented world we live in now. Really, we are. So at the core, 165,000 years, we're primarily hunter and gatherers. And then about 10,000 years ago, there was a place called Fertile Crescent in the Middle East where we started having agriculture. The last few thousand years is really about the royalty and nobility, where all the wealth is very, very concentrated. The last few hundred years, you have the robber barons or these titans of industries like the Rothschilds, the Carnegies, and the Andrew Carnegies of the world, or the John D. Rockefellers of the world. And then now in the last few decades, you just have all these big companies that you see. I mean, American Express, they started over 100 years ago, but it's really these corporations. But it's really in the last 20 years when the internet started happening that this has opened up all these different possibilities for people around the world. As long as you have Wi-Fi and a computer and a smartphone, you can literally work anywhere in the world. This year alone, I've traveled about 40,000 miles. I've traveled to about 10 cities in 4 or 5 countries. I've been to Austin and Dallas and New York and Denver, and I was in Alaska, I was in Australia, and a lot of them were speaking, and sometimes I just went there for fun, and when I got there, I got to sell my programs, or I resumed my coaching. But the point is, you have complete freedom to go wherever you want, whenever you want, with whomever you want. When you start having this financial freedom, you can make a lot of money. I see a lot of investment bankers making a lot of money, or doctors making a lot of money, or lawyers making a lot of money, but they have no life. They work 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 hours a day, and they don't really enjoy it. And so the world we live in now, with the internet, especially as an online coach, you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, with whomever you want. So keep in mind that you have to first have the mindset. According to Dr. Cal Dweck, who studies this stuff, this isn't just my opinion, that Cal Dweck studies this stuff and wrote a book called Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. And she found that it comes down to 2 types of mindsets. You either have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. All the clients that do really well have a growth mindset, like Jesse. I can do this. I believe in Chris. This is how you do it. I do it. The people that don't do as well, or they're more hesitant and they don't even sign up for my program, are the ones that's fixed mindset. Oh, Chris, I'm not as smart as you. I'm not as bright as you. I'm not as confident. They have this fixed mindset where they think of these things that they're not, instead of focusing on the things that they are and just focus on the growth. And they have to just trust that when I've been doing this for the last 16, 17 years, more than 15 years of experience, you have to trust other people and just follow their footsteps, and in time you'll gain that confidence. So we are living in this world where essentially you're like a lottery winner, because 20 years out of 165,000, 99.9% of all human history was the same, meaning everyone was poor. And we were that 0.01% that were lucky, because we're in this time with the internet where I want to stress that it's so important that you recognize how important this time is. Everything changes and shifts. If you were here during 1860s, that was a gold rush. If you're here during the 1920s in the US, that was the roaring 20s. If you're here post World War II, that was when they started building out the economy or the infrastructure, at least in the US. And that's when McDonald's and fast foods and refrigerators and canned foods, those industries happened. If you're here in the 70s and 80s, you had the computer revolution. But now, 1990s was the first wave of internet entrepreneurs like the Elon Musk and the Jeffrey Skolls. But now it's the online, the solo entrepreneur, that you can be anywhere in the world and make money and make a difference. I want to just really nail down this point that if you're not online, you're literally missing out on millions of dollars of opportunity. You're missing out on millions of chances to inspire people. So when people say to me, well, Chris, money's not that important. I'm like, fine, maybe it's not that important, but wouldn't you want more money to help more people? And there's a clear correlation. If Richard Branson charges $500,000 to speak, you don't think he's impacting a lot of people? So the price point you charge as a speaker or coach correlates exactly with the amount of people that you inspire. So for my clients, sometimes they ask me, oh, I want to help people. I'm like, great. Well, if you want to help more people, you're going to charge a higher price point. You command that. So just keep that in mind. And I want to really, again, nail down this point that we're living in an unprecedented time in human history to be an online entrepreneur. And we don't know how long it's going to last, but jump on board now. So these are some of the numbers based on research. I see all these people talking about how important things are, but you really want to relate to science and pure evidence, because that's how you know things are much more valid and credible. So the this personal development space alone is a $11 billion space. And the online learning industry is $107 billion. It's only going to go up. And this is a screen that you might want to screenshot, where this is what I didn't understand years ago when I looked at these internet people and I'm like, well, how do they make money? If you look at this list on a very basic level, if you have an email list, a basic email list with 1,000 subscribers, let's say you send out an email every week and you have a program that costs $1,000, and you only convert 10% of these 100 people, actually, I say 10%, 100 people, they buy a program for $1,000, it's $100,000. Let's say you only convert 1%, that's still $10,000 per week. What if you convert 0.1%? That's $1,000. You know, the point is your ATM machine ends up, your email list ends up coming like an ATM machine where you're sleeping, because you have your email set up that they go out regularly and it's automated, and you have different programs or services you provide. So in time, you'll get the freedom you want. And that's just based on an email list. Webinars, as I mentioned to you before, I had 500 people on a webinar from 30 countries. And so whether your program is $1,000 or $500 or $5,000, whatever it might be, just look at the math. Lastly, Jesse, he has 1,400 friends. You know, it's some friends, but it's not like it's maxed out at 5,000 like I am. But the point is, he ended up signing over 10 clients in the first month, and his program cost $2,500. So you do the math. He spent zero money in marketing, but he just was out there, took action, took my advice, signed up my program. And so your path is in the math. You can talk about the secret, you can talk about the laws of attraction, but it's still about taking action. There's no correlation between just attracting things if you don't take action toward the things you want to attract. I mean, sometimes I meet people that are just always talking about laws of attraction. I'm like, great, yeah, that's why you're always struggling. You talk about laws of attraction. So I'm not going to bemoan that, but I'm going to say attraction without action is nothing. Attraction without action, you're not going to get the results. So look at the path in the math, and you'll get the results. This is why it's all about conversions. It's all about building out a list and building followers that really admire what you do, because that's how you monetize and that's how you can inspire a lot of people. In terms of inspiring people, I was on one specific interview, just one interview, and there are 235,000 views. When I say to people, you know, now you can inspire millions, and it's true. On one video, I had 235,000 views. I'm also a Huffington Post contributor, and they have 126 million views. So you have staff writers at Huffington Post, but you also have contributors. So there's so many digital outlets out there that you could potentially write for. And then you might say, well, Chris, I'm not a great writer. Well, then find a co-writer, find a ghostwriter. You know, there's many ways. It goes back to what Carol Dweck said in Mindset, the New Psychology of Success. You have to stop thinking about things like, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that. You have this fixed mindset. You might not be good at certain things, but that's why you find people that are good at them. You partner with them, you work with them. So just keep that in mind. You have a growth mindset, meaning you can do things. Just find the people. That's why my program is so helpful for people. That's why athletes become Olympians, because they have coaches, which is what I'm going to help you become an Olympian speaker, an Olympian online coach. But without the coach, you're just going to do to your own devices. And all of us need coaches and mentors and whatnot. Otherwise, we're not going to be as successful as we can be. Now, here are the 9 revenue streams. And I always mention that you have to reference other people to do more of what you want to do. And what I mean by that, earlier on, I talked about John D. Rockefeller and Rothschild and Carnegie. If you look at John D. Rockefeller, he is the most successful entrepreneur in human history, in the modern human history. John D. Rockefeller, he's best known for Standard Oil. But did you know that he had a lot of other revenue streams? He had 9 real estate firms. He had 6 steel companies. He had 6 steamboat or steamship companies. And he also had 9 banks, financial institutions. But he even had 2 orange groves. Now, if you add up real estate, steel, the steamships, the orange groves, and the banks and financial houses, he had 32 other revenue streams. And surprise, surprise, he's a billionaire. He's the most successful billionaire and entrepreneur in human history. And so when you look at people who are successful financially, at least in this case, they have multiple revenue streams. So as a speaker, you can get paid to give keynote speeches. A breakout session is just a smaller speech at a conference. And by smaller, it's all relative, because the keynote might be 4,000 people and the breakout might be 400 people. So it's all relative, but it's generally the smaller one relative to the keynote. Books sold, I encourage every single one of you to write a book. And again, you don't have to be a great writer. Some of the most successful people, actually, the Eric Schmidts of Google or George Bush. I mean, a lot of these people don't even write their own books. They have ghostwriters to write it for them. So even if you think you're not a great writer, as long as you have a message to share, you can write a book and just find a co-writer, find a great editor, find a ghostwriter. You know, they also pay a travel expense where if they fly you out there on a business class or first class, that's another potential revenue stream. Private coaching is another revenue stream. Online products, there's so many of them. I have an online training program. Occasionally I do online coaching, but that's included in my online training. Masterminds are both online and offline, where you can charge. Sometimes people charge $10,000 for a mastermind. Affiliates are, let's say, a ClickFunnels, which is a software, a back-end software, where if you were to help them sell their ClickFunnels membership, which essentially provides all the back-end digital infrastructure to create a membership program and whatnot, they'll give you a percentage of that. I mean, affiliates is not new. Lastly, sponsorships. I've gotten paid from sponsors, but if you go become a speaker and you decide to have a 500 people in front of a travel agency audience, and you get a hotel to sponsor you as a speaker. And lastly, referrals. You know, if someone finds you a paid speaking gig, then you get referrals from that. But these are just 9 basic revenue streams as a speaker. There's many other revenue streams, but just like John D. Rockefeller taught us a long time ago, he had 32 revenue streams outside of his main oil. And so just keep that in mind, that there's many ways to generate money. If you have a job as an employee, even in that case, you want to start thinking as an employer, as an entrepreneur, because you'll be able to help and add more value to the bottom line and to help your business out. So I stress this a lot. If you really want to charge $5,000, $10,000 and more for a speech, if you really want to charge thousands of dollars more for your programs, it really comes down to your brand. And your brand comes down to the name recognition and the numbers. So when I tell people that I've given over 1,000 presentations, that's true. When I tell people I've spoken at American Express and Google, that's all true too. I spoke at a U.S. consulate event. So all this stuff lends to the brand, and it can't just be you saying it. If you were to Google me, if you go on YouTube, you'll see those things. And so that's what I help my clients do. I've gotten my clients on multiple avenues of publication, and that's how you build your brand, because your brand will determine your price point. It's so important. It's not about what you think you are. It's not about how great you think your speaker you are. It's not about how many people have said amazing your speaker you are. I'm not denying any of that stuff to be true. All I'm saying, if you want to get paid, you have to focus on your brand and how you present yourself as a speaker. Now, from the business side, this is why 99% of speakers will never get paid. You know, I see a lot of people that want to be speakers, and the ones that are most successful, they have a servant mentality. They want to serve other people. But some people have a very egotistical way where like, I want to share my story. This is my life. This is my story. This is my struggles. And I'm like, you know, people don't really care about your struggles or your story per se. They care about their own story in the context of your story. And so if you want to get paid for it, it's all about your clients has problems and how do you offer solutions. I'll say that again. If you're not offering solutions for someone's problem, you're not going to get paid. So let's say I have a client. He's retired in his 30s. He's part of our GPS program. We already have about 5-6 millionaires already in our program. They are specialists in their field. And this gentleman, he already was a millionaire by his 30s and has multiple properties around the world. And so his program teaches people how to invest, how to save money, and how to have more of a financial literacy. So the business side of things is the 3 basic categories are you helping someone make money? In Jesse's case, as I shared with you before, the testimonial, he helps realtors make money because they don't know how to make money when they first begin. Health-wise, I have another client named Chris and Eric. They're called a Dynamic Duo. Check them out. They've had over 1,000 clients online, teaching them online as fitness trainers. And so they help people with their health. Lastly, some people help people with romantic relationships. In my case, I help with business relationships. When I get hired to speak, though I talked about stories and I talked about being teased, they're hiring me because I'm going to help them get more clients. They're hiring me because I'm going to help them research events. They're hiring me because I'm going to help them understand how to communicate, how to articulate themselves. But I share the science of persuasion. I share the science of networking, because networking isn't just an opinion. Your success, your number one best predictor for success is networking. And this is based on network science by a guy named Ron Burt, who studies this stuff. Can you imagine how happy his parents were when he said, "Mommy and Daddy, I'm going to study network science"? Can you imagine that? But the point is, it's a science. Networking is a science. And he found that your networking is the number one best predictor for success. And so I share these various empirically based studies with my audiences, and they also give them specific things. And so I always talk about high-level networking, eye-level networking, like looking at someone in the eyes, and lastly, next-level networking. Speaking is next-level networking. Most of us go to networking events, if you're in sales or business development, and you get a business card at the business card at the business card, and you get lost in the crowd. How many times have you gone back home with a stack of business cards, and you're flipping through those business cards, and you don't even remember who these people are? Imagine if you burned away that script, and you went to an event as a speaker, you have a speaker badge on, you get treated as a VIP, sometimes they pay you, you get on that stage, how much more probable and realistic is it for you to get more clients, referrals, sales, new business, whatever you want, fans, followers, investors, when you're a speaker? So keep in mind that when I help people, it's about giving them value, giving them solutions. So you have to be really, really, really specific about how you add value to their lives. It's really important. All right. So we're in the final stretch of things. Just as a recap, like I said, the beginning part was just creating a vision board of your future. The main course was sharing with you how there's multiple revenue streams of becoming a business coach or an online coach actually, and a professional speaker. And then the number of revenue streams, the branding part. The branding is so key for your success. And so the solution I provide for you, just as I provided a book on networking based on 20 years of experience where I teach my clients, primarily wealth managers, insurance brokers, entrepreneurs, and how they can connect, how they can get more business. Again, I'm offering a solution for someone's problem. Well, if you want to be a speaker, specifically a paid speaker, if you want to make millions online, if you want to be an online coach and help people, well, my solution is, well, here's 5 steps, how I built out my program, how I became a global speaker. It's called the Gifted Professional Speaker Program, or GPS for short. You check out my website, christopherkai.com. But again, I'm offering a solution for your problem. We all have problems, but you have to understand how to offer solutions for someone's problems. So I'm going to go into the dessert part. And so my GPS program, it's a Forbes feature program. It's the only online speaker training program that teaches entrepreneurs how to do 3 specific things. 1 is the global speaking part. 2 is the online consultant part. And 3 is the branding. You can be a great speaker. You can be online. But you're not going to charge the price points you deserve if you don't create a good brand. You look at Nike, you look at Google. I mean, Apple's a perfect example. Why do their computers cost $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 more? We can buy one for $300 or even $100. It's the brand that they've created. We trust brands because they spent billions of dollars over time to convince you. You look at Unilever, actually. It was, I think, Procter & Gamble years and years ago. They created soap operas for that reason. Soap operas and television in general, it's all ad-based. We wouldn't have any free TV if you didn't have all these corporations promoting themselves. Therefore, you have a brand. Coca-Cola, you look at Coca-Cola. I mean, they sell sugar water. They sell things that make your health worse. They sell things that make your teeth rot. They sell things that make you fat. They sell things that make you get a higher propensity to have diabetes. But Coca-Cola is like open happiness, okay? So you look at the advertising and you have to take the advertising that they spend billions of dollars on and utilize it for yourself. Now, our program is important, and it's crucial that you understand the difference, because a lot of these programs out there, they have more of a speak to sell model where I don't knock that. It's also a great way to make money where you go on stage where they don't pay you. You sell a program or a package or coaching or consultants fees. Sometimes you actually have to pay them as a sponsor. But I'm teaching you that, but also, more importantly, how do you get paid before you step on stage? How do you get invited to places where even if they don't pay you, they put you up in a nice hotel, they fly you out this? That's a global speech. That's a global speaker. That picture on the left-hand side is me speaking at the Hope Global Forum, where former President Clinton has spoken there. The U.S. Secretary of Defense was there this year. The former president of Mexico was there. The chairman of SunTrust Bank was there. So that's a global conference where I spoke at. This year I moderated a panel. But that's a very different level of speaking. And so that's what I talk about. The online coaching, as I mentioned before, it's a $107 billion space. So make sure you start utilizing that. We are living in a time of unprecedented opportunity. So this is how it's different. Corporate experience. The corporations charge the most money. And so you have to understand how to communicate with corporations. And for me, I've already gotten 6 of our inaugural gifters. This is months ago when we first started the program. They've already spoken at Farmers Insurance in Beverly Hills. And so you might not think this is a big idea or a big deal, but when you can start saying that I spoke at a Fortune 500 company and elevate your brand. Remember, if your brand is not a global status, why should they pay you tens of thousands of dollars? If you just spoke at a local community church, that's a good start, right? But if you speak at Farmers Insurance, which is a global brand, which is a Fortune 500 company in Beverly Hills, you tell me, won't you be able to elevate your game more? Won't you be able to charge more when you've spoken to these places? Because as soon as you walk in the door, it could be a pro bono client. You're a speaker, you get paid, but sometimes you have pro bono clients you do for free. In this case, I had 6 of my inaugural speakers with very minimal speaking experience to get to speak at this company. Another one of our clients, named Amanda, she ended up speaking at Solar City. Solar City, some of you may have heard, it's owned by Elon Musk, which got put together and lumped together into Tesla. The point is, the difference between my program and so many other programs, I teach you from the corporate background that I have working at American Express, and you're able to command the highest price point, because you can't command high price points if you don't understand corporations. And since I've worked at them since 12, I understand them very, very well. The global speaking part, one of our clients, Bernard, who's based out of Hawaii, he already built out a speaking reel. We have clients that leave testimonials from Sao Paulo. The guy on the right-hand side, his name is Ernest, and he's just booked another gig in Ireland. Another client, he just booked a gig. Well, actually, he was in Shanghai last year. He booked another gig in Michigan. It's just crazy. Branding. We've already had our clients get featured in Forbes and the Street. And here's the thing, going back to branding, it's not a coincidence that the brands that are out there, they always say featured in such and such magazines, because again, just because you say you're amazing, just because you say how phenomenal you are, you have to have that third party proof. This was why I've been featured in Forbes twice, and I have my clients do the same. And it's important to know that just because you say things, why should people believe you? You have to have that social proof. And we all do this. We all Google people. So just keep in mind that you have to offer that proof to other people, because otherwise, why should they believe you? So this is a perfect example. This is the actual slide that I showed Jesse how to do, where that's his program name. So Reach Your Peak is the program name. It's very clear what he does. He has one-on-one online coaching. He teaches them how to make 100 grand in less than 3 months in real estate. So there's no ambiguity. There's a very specific price point. There's a specific industry. There's a cool name, and there's clear purpose there, right? He did this thing on a website I shared with him. In Dragana, she's made tens of thousands of dollars. She was so squeamish. She's an example of how, for those of you who are not tech savvy, for those of you who never really used Facebook that much, on Dragana's case, she lives in Los Angeles. And so I said, you know what? I'll do the Facebook Live, the first one with you. She was very scared and timid, but now she's just killing it. She's amazing. She has a transformational program, and she's just phenomenal. She talks about how to transform people's lives. And you know, her first Facebook Live, she had over 3,000 views, and now she's traveling the world. She's just in Dubai, and she signed up a client there. So it's very possible, and it starts from the beginning. And notice how she says featured in Farmers, WeWork, and Union Rest Commission. I got her 2 of the 3. Union Rest Commission is the largest private shelter in the country, and Farmers Insurance is a Fortune 500 company. And lastly, as I said before, your network is the #1 best predictor for your career success, which means we're building out this phenomenal community. This is less than a year old, so we're going to have 100 gifters. We're on track with that. We already have 5 multimillionaires or millionaires in our group, and we're going to on track to be in 70 cities in 20 countries. But our goal is to be in 100 countries in the next 2 years. And so join our revolution. The first 300, you will be able to help build us and build out this community. As well as just being a part of it, you'll help become builders of this community. And when you look at a flock of geese, they get to the goal 71% faster because a flock of geese lift each other up, literally and figuratively. They honk at each other. They support each other. So you're not just part of this community, you're part of a global community. And also there's vacation spots anywhere in the world, whether you want to go to Dubai or Guatemala or Sweden or Australia, Hong Kong, South Korea. It's just all these places that we have that are already in our gifted program, and we're just beginning. So keep in mind that we just have this phenomenal community that we're building that you're going to be a part of. So this is the nuts and bolts of our actual program. So it's based on 15 plus years of experience, and it's 5 very specific modules. And here's the thing. If you can't find people that can concisely and confidently and clearly tell you how they did things, then they're not going to be a good coach. And so in my case, the way that I talk, I'll bet sometimes quickly, you'll know that I don't like wasting your time. I know you're a very busy person, so I'm going to teach you in a very concise fashion. Some of my videos in these modules can be 1 minute long, but I think the longest one is only about 12 minutes long. So each module, I like to give or take is 30 or 40 minutes. It's not a lot of time, but I'd rather you spend 3 hours speaking and getting clients than 3 hours watching videos. So I give you the most concise, crystallized gems that you need, and then it's all about application, which again, in Jesse's case, he just applied. I gave him the advice in a group coaching call at one point where we offered it. He took the advice, applied it, made money, got clients, started his program. But a lot of people, if they don't take action, they don't get it. So our program is based on the 5 modules. Why are you the person to share this story? What are you going to talk about? What's your content? Where do you find your clients? Who are your clients? And lastly, how do you persuade them? So step by step, broken down with videos, 32 elite videos, and 150 pages. Again, step by step. It's not about working harder. It's about working smarter. When I have a client last week who signed up, her name is Merida. She's a psychiatrist. She's a doctor. She has a massively successful practice. She's married. She has kids, but she wants to have more free time with her husband and kids. So she's going to create an online coaching program or online training program. So she's going to be able to help more people and scale it, because it's just amazing that online, again, the possibilities are endless. So the crux of it is this. 5 modules. Why are you the person to share your story? Who's your client? What's your topic? Where do you find them? And most importantly, how? The how is the secret sauce because I actually give you scripts, sales email templates, LinkedIn, Facebook. I give you the actual things that I have used to successfully secure clients. And so with that, you can really, really, really be very, very successful. Now we work at your level. Some of you maybe just want to speak on a local level to get more clients. Some of you want to go on a national level, or others want to be a global speaker. And it really makes a difference because you can't really be a global speaker if you don't understand or know about global conferences like CGI, which now is defunct, or the Milken Conference, which is in Beverly Hills, or Davos. It's in Davos, Switzerland. It's the World Economic Forum, but that's like the Super Bowl of world leaders. You have the heads of states, the billionaires, the celebrities that go there. But again, I will teach you to whatever level you want. One of my clients, she's only 20 years old in a small town in Sweden, and she's already speaking. She just spoke at a sales conference, a national sales conference in Sweden, and she's one of the younger clients. But with her, she needs to build up her brand, but she still has a program and an offering where she teaches millennials, and she's a millennial, on how to find jobs by networking. So there's a very specific solution she's providing for someone's problem. On the other end, I have another client. He's built over 50 companies in the last 30 years. He's raised $500 million in capital. He's a very successful entrepreneur. In his case, I help him with more global understanding of how to be a speaker. How do you go out there? And so whether it's a 20-something-year-old client, a young woman in a small town in Sweden, or a gentleman who's a multimillionaire already and used to be in property management, it doesn't matter what level you're at. I teach the level you're at because the foundation is the same. It's kind of like a singer. If you want to learn how to sing jazz, opera, R&B, pop, the foundation of being a singer is still the same foundation. Same thing with a speaker. I don't care what level you're at. I don't care how successful of an entrepreneur you are. I don't care how inexperienced you are as an entrepreneur. I can teach at your level because I've been there. Remember, I got paid $50 for my first paid speech. And so if I get paid $50, you definitely can get paid at least $50. The program is all online. So once you sign up for our program, we stay in touch via only on Facebook. So you will get exclusive access to 6 months membership on the Facebook group. And we're quite active on the Facebook group. And any chance I get, whenever city I go to, I always do my best to meet the gifters that are there. Whether I was in Dallas recently where I met our gifters, or I was in Beverly Hills recently, I met some of our gifters. And so I do my best to meet the gifters in their cities if I have a chance. But the program is online. It's all online because we're going to scale this to an even larger global audience. Again, we already are in 55 cities and we're moving towards 670 cities, and we're already in 11 countries, and we're going to move toward 20 by the end of this year. And just exciting times all through and through. We have been featured on Forbes. And here's the thing. All of life is about understanding that if you want to succeed, you have to make commitments of your time and money. And if you make commitments of your time and money, you'll be successful. The people that say, oh, Chris, I don't have the money, I can't do this, I'm like this or that, they're kind of just making excuses. And I remember when I was just starting out, I actually was a singer-songwriter, and I was just starting out, and I didn't have money. But you know what? I wanted to be a professional singer-songwriter. So I spent $3,000 on a Korg Triton 88-key weighted keyboard because I wanted to be a professional. I didn't whine about not having money. I just put it on my credit card because I knew that from a mentality standpoint, going back to what Dr. Cal Dweck said, your mentality, specifically your mindset, at a growth mindset, I wanted to be a professional. I wanted to be a singer-songwriter, and therefore I made the investments I needed to become a professional. So when you look at programs, you look at coaching, you're not going to be a professional if you're just looking for the price. You have to look for the actual purpose of the program. You have to look for the experience. And in my case, I charge $20,000 per speech, and it's only going to go higher because of the fact that I keep building my brand. And the more you build your brand, the higher price points you can charge. So when you look at my program, if I'm charging $20,000 for my speech, I can easily keep going around the world and speaking, which is great. But I really always remember about what Maya Angelou once said. Maya Angelou said that when you learn, teach, when you get, give. I'll say that again. Maya Angelou, who is now deceased, but when she was alive, she was Oprah Winfrey's mentor, and Oprah Winfrey often loves to quote Maya Angelou. But Maya Angelou said, when you learn, teach, when you get, give. And so this is why I'm doing this. This is why I wrote my book. I wrote a book on networking. And if you actually read my book, if you go to Amazon and go to the Big Game Hunting, Networking with Billionaires, Executives, and Celebrities, the actual dedication is dedicated to anyone who's ever felt like an outsider. I told you this before. I was teased, I was punished, I was ridiculed. I had a really tough childhood. I mean, it just was not a very fun time per se because I had some of these challenges internally. A lot of people didn't know that. But now I'm an older man and sometimes wiser man. And now that I know this, I want to help people, like I've had my own consultant firm for 17 years now, but it's really in the last 17 months that I've gained this national and global prestige and status and this celebrity status. And it's in the last 7 to 10 months where my program online has really picked up. And so you're getting real-time feedback. You're not getting some guy who spoke 30 years ago and now he has a program to teach you how to speak, and the whole world has changed. The whole world has changed even in 5 years. So just be very mindful and careful about who you're talking to, because you really want to find people that are on the cutting edge, who are on the forefront. And this is the thing. I'm doing this every day. I'm traveling the world. I'm speaking online. And so you're getting the actual data, the actual experience right now, not 5, 10, 20 years ago. I've been speaking for over 15 years. It's about you're applying the corporate experience, you're applying the real-time internet experience, because like I said, the online training space is $107 billion. And so make sure you be mindful of that and you just jump on, and don't be too afraid, because like I said, I didn't know a lot about this stuff, but now I do. And now I'm going to teach you. So I charge $20,000. This program is normally $2,000, but today it's only $997. Again, going back to what I said before, if you don't make investments of your time and money, you will never, 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 never be successful. I can't stress that enough. I remember going to a speech, and I only sell my books hardcover at speeches, and usually it's when they buy bulk. And I remember this gentleman was wanting to buy my book, and he's like, I got to think about it. And I'm like, do you want to be successful? He's like, yes. And do you accept that to be successful, you have to have a great network? He said, yes. I'm like, and your network is the number one best predictor for success, right? He's like, yes. And I'm like, you mean to tell me you can't spend $20, you have to think about it? I'm like, well, you're not going to be successful. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I already told him, I didn't grow up with money, access to connections. I was teased, I was punished. And this book will help you get the money you want. It will help you get the connections you want. And unfortunately, we live in a bit of a cynical world, but it's like a $20 investment. It's not like I just don't get it. It's unfortunate because he has this fixed mindset. So for you might look at the price tag, go, oh my gosh, $997. I don't have that, Chris. So many of my clients like, Chris, why are you charging so little? I mean, well, this is a promotional price. It's going to go up. It's a promotional price. And so you have to take those opportunities now to get what you want, because if you don't make the investments of your time and money, you're never going to get what you want. Now, it really is hundreds of thousands of dollars of value, because I charge $20,000 per speech, but all the hours I spent networking, all the hours I spent giving 1,000 presentations, this is why a Jesse Lauder can make back tens of thousands of dollars in a matter of a month. This is why Adam can make tens of thousands of dollars as a speaker, because he's learned from me. 17 years of experience as a speaker, as a consultant. I've also written 5 books. So all the things you're getting from me, I tell you in a very concise fashion. So this is hundreds of thousands of dollars of value, where we don't even think twice, at least in the United States, about spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a college diploma. Yet what do you do with your college diploma? You don't even know if you can find a college diploma. And a lot of times you get a college diploma that doesn't even apply to your actual career. Whereas this, if you're investing less than $1,000, where you want to make $100,000 or more, that's a pretty freaking good investment. So again, like I tell all the people all the time, you can't make money if you don't make investments. And so just keep that in mind, where it's unrealistic. And some people say, oh, I don't have the money now, or I don't have the time now. And like, it's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. And there's never going to be a perfect time. So stop making excuses for yourself. And we all do that. I remember I made an excuse when I worked at American Express, and I talked to this guy who taught a Dale Carnegie class. And I'm like, hey, Michael, I really want to quit my job and sell my apartment, move out to California, live my dreams as a speaker and a singer-songwriter and a coach. And he's like, quit your job, Chris. I'm like, no. But you hear what I said, Michael? I said, but I'm afraid, like, I want to do this, but I want to, I don't know. And he's like, quit your job, Chris. Like, he's essentially just calling me out my excuses, and which is what I'm doing with you right now. I'm calling out your excuses. You want to do this. You want to be a coach. You want to aspire. You want to be a speaker, but you look at the price point, you're like, oh, it's kind of expensive. I'm like, it's not expensive. It's about making an investment. And the more you start changing your script, the more you start focusing on making investments of your time and money, you'll be that much more successful. Because like I said, this is a promotional price. And now, even that being said, I offer installment plans. $375 for 3 months or $299 for 4 months. Again, these are promotional rates. You're blessed or grateful because we're just starting out this program. And so I'm testing this, testing that. And the beauty is I'm very upfront. You're going to be testing things too. You don't know where the price point is going to go. You just test it, right? So when you catch it at this price point, you buy it. Just like what Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, 2 of the wealthiest investors in the world. What's the reason why they're successful? 3 things. It's really about a durable competitive advantage. Well, I already told you how competitive my program is because I can speak, I can write. I've been in corporate settings where I can help you as my client build your brand, understand how to warrant those corporate price points. And so that's a durable competitive advantage. Then it's the leadership team. I'm going to be leading this team, this orchestra. And then lastly, it's the price point. If you buy something low, it's only going to add value. So my clients many of them have already done very well for themselves. And so it's a really, really low price point. But just like what I said in my book, I recognize that not everyone might even have $1,000, right? But it's still about, you can make investments. I spent $3,000 on a Facebook, on a keyboard and the speakers and all that stuff, thousands of dollars that I didn't have at the time, but I wanted to be a professional. And you can't be a professional if you don't have the equipment, the tools, and the skill set to do that. Wanting something is not enough. So go ahead to ChristopherKai.com and buy it online now. This is a promotional price. And if you buy it now, there's a few bonuses. First bonus for the first 10 buyers, you get an Amazon #1 bestseller book. As I mentioned to you, 20 strategies that I learned in 20 years. I've traveled all around the world. What do you do before, during, and after events? If you're going to a networking event, if you want to find more clients, colleagues, fans, followers, investors, you have to understand that networking is like any skill. It takes time, it takes attention, it takes patience, it takes a very clear strategy. And so just make sure you do that. So if you buy it now, make sure you do it because it's all about being decisive in life, because those that are decisive get more things. You'll also get a free video vault. This is the beauty. I've done some private coaching calls. I've also done some group coaching calls. And so you get a free video vault. And in this video vault, you have how to write a bio from scratch, how to choose a speech topic, how to structure a 1-hour speech, 5 simple ways to create an online coaching program, speaking reel, like all these things you need. Now, granted, a lot of these things are already in my program, but in a very concise 2, 3, 5-minute video. But if for those of you who want to expand on it and have more elaboration and actually have actual these role-playing things where I've spoken to these group calls, and so you'll see they're just like you. All these clients, many of them might not have known what to share, might not have known what to say, but I would walk them through what to say, what to do it with the minimum amount of investment. Of course, they have to invest in my program, but it's about understanding the sales side of things, about persuasion, because just wanting to speak, just wanting to be a coach is not enough, because so many of these programs that I see out there, they don't stress the business side. And again, if you want to create a business, you have to understand people that understand business. I've been in the game since age 12, but even before I was in corporate America at my uncle's insurance company, I was selling portable handheld fans when I was 7 years old. I was raking leaves and shoveling snow by the time I was 8 years old. So for me to make $100 as an 8-year-old, come on now, that's pretty baller, right? I gotta say, it's pretty baller because like I didn't have a lot of money. You know, I like the freedom, but with this video vote, there's over 10 hours of private coaching or group calls, which includes role playing. Which I mean by that is that if I have a client named Albert and Albert goes to speech, I tell Albert exactly what to say when he gets off stage to get a testimonial. I tell Albert exactly what to say to get a paid speaking gig, because Albert has gone all around the world with this nonprofit. But what I'm saying is you'll see actual role playing of me and actual clients, our gifters, what I call gifters, in these scenarios where it's all about taking action. Okay, it's not about thinking anymore. It's not about theory. The clients that do the best take action, even if when they're nervous, even if they're uncertain, you do it anyway. The worst thing that happens is they say no. Who cares? So the video vault is only going to build, so you'll get so much value. But buy it now. Again, this is a promotional price. And I'm going to share one other video.
You know, I think the biggest problem that entrepreneurs, business owners, and just people in general face is they're just afraid to go for it. And as a result, they live in this life where they feel stuck to the circumstances and they never really go for it, right? Like the biggest regret people have when they die is that they just didn't go for it. They didn't live their life. And, you know, what causes that is just not having somebody in your corner that inspires you and has your back and guides you enough to make you feel good about making that leap. And Christopher Kai, for me, was that guy, right? I was working my tail off and doing everything I was supposed to do, but I just wasn't living up to my full potential. And this guy comes in my life and changes it completely, right? He says, you know what, you're playing small. You should totally go do this, run your own business. And he gave me the inspiration that I needed, and not just the inspiration, but the guidance that I needed to go off and do my own thing. And I gotta say, I could not be happier, and I can say 100% without a doubt that it would not be happening. I wouldn't be loving my life the way that I am, and having the level of success that I am, if it wasn't for Christopher Guy. If you have a chance to get involved with one of his programs, or go see the guy speak, or just hang out with the guy, I highly, highly recommend that you don't pass it up and take advantage of it. You'll be glad you did.
So again, it's really about just doing it. I've already shared this knowledge, but knowledge without application is not power, it's depression. So you really have to just go for things in life, because if you don't, you lose out on opportunities. So again, program is generally $2,000. Today it's only $997. You have installment plans, 3 months, or $299 for 4 months. Again, this is right now only sales are final for this promotional opportunity. You have a free video vault, so go ahead and buy the GPS on my website, christopherkai.com. You'll get the free video vault. You'll get my book. You'll get the 6 months of my Facebook Live training program. Facebook group, because it's all about consistent support, because you can try to do it on your own, but when you have to have that coach, you have to have that system in place, that step-by-step process. And when you do that, you'll be that much more successful. So, oh, cool. We got some buyers already. We got Ken. Ken, congratulations. This is the beauty of, again, having an online program. You can watch real time when people are buying your program. So it's like they read it, they watch it, they're excited. They go on my website, christopherkai.com. And David, congratulations. Welcome to the family. This is cool. Carrie, congratulations. So again, this is the beauty of having an online program, where you create this thing and it just lasts forever. You just put it out there. Remember what I said, you have hesitations, you can wait and this and that, but Jason, hey, congratulations. Meredith, congratulations. So I appreciate you all making this investment. Keep it coming. It's amazing when you can just help people and inspire people. So if anyone has questions, feel free to ask. But again, this is a promotional price. So go ahead, christopherkai.com, buy the GPS program, where you can learn how to become a global speaker and an online consultant. I'm super excited to help you, to guide you, to inspire you, building on this global community. And like I said, at this point, you're helping us build it, and time will just be a part of it, which is obviously still good too. But is what it is. So one final thing, awesome. Thank you so much all. Thank you all for investing. Thank you all for being part of this webinar. And awesome. So I will see you soon. For those of you invested, you'll be hearing from my staff very soon. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone.